The Titanoboa lived around 60 million years ago and weighed in at about 2,500 pounds, reaching lengths of about 50 feet. Absolute monsters. This was the kind of snake you'd see Conan battling in Frank Frazetta paintings. The way these things would have taken out their prey is similar to how modern boa constrictors do, constricting and choking their enemies to death. These things were so big and bad, they were able to consume massive-sized crocodiles whole. These massive-sized snakes have been long extinct, but that doesn't mean we don't have boas slithering around that tip the scales and come pretty close to being prehistoric in size. No, that's not an animatronic. No, you are not looking at a scene from a new Jurassic Park movie. That's an actual boa that exists in real life. What you're looking at is a 34-foot long, 990-pound anaconda that was discovered at a construction site in Brazil. I think the word discovered is a bit out of place here. Encountered, that's more accurate. That thing would have been impossible to miss. The workers had been carrying out a controlled explosion in the Belo Monte Dam in the northern state of Para when they saw this beast. They ended up having to lift it out of there with construction equipment so they could get back to work. Now, hopefully they didn't kill it. This clip here shows a pan of the boa's gigantic body though. Just unreal. I thought Titanoboas were extinct. There was some pretty exciting news in the world of serpents about 6 months back with the discovery of the northern green anaconda in northern South America. Not only is this a newly discovered snake species, but it may also be one of the largest in the world. If the name sounds familiar to you, then you may be thinking of the southern green anaconda. In 2024, these ones were found to be genetically distinct though. Now, these boas were always known to the local Kalina people, which they called Akayima, but the species had never been documented in the scientific world. That was until 2024, when a group from the University of Queensland set out to search for them. They joined members of the Warani tribe on a 10-day expedition to find the snakes, and what they saw blew the researchers away. Just take a look at this. That is absolutely amazing. I'm very confused as to why the diver is swimming with what looks to be a private school uniform, but I digress. Anyway, biologist Brian Fry, who led the team, was interviewed about the experience, saying one female anaconda they came across was just over 20 feet long, and they were told they can get even bigger, closer to 24 feet. Ever seen that show River Monsters? I feel like this thing deserves an episode all to itself. Here we have footage of a massive-sized anaconda taken in the Santa Maria River in Brazil. Now, for some reason, the dudes in the video actually tried to grab this thing with their bare hands. First of all, that's just not cool. You shouldn't be doing that with any wild animal. Just leave the things alone. But second of all, just what in the hell were they thinking, taking their chances messing with something like this? I mean, look at that. It's so gigantic, it doesn't even look like it belongs in this time period. It's prehistorically huge. If I was floating down a river and saw that thing slithering around the water, I wouldn't even think it was a snake. My first thought would be that Loch Ness just showed up. I'd immediately think that monsters are real, my entire worldview would flip on its head, and I'd be tearing out of there long before the thought of touching it with a 20-foot pole, let alone my bare hands, ever entered into my mind. Anyway, each one of these guys rightfully ended up getting a fine for pestering the animal. How would you like to come across any boa constrictor, let alone one the size of this, slithering around right in your backyard? Well, that's exactly what happened to someone in South Florida. Toby's Troop is a YouTube channel ran by two wildlife experts named Taylor and Rhett, who specialize in rescuing rare or fully invasive species in South Florida. They also do house calls, removing venomous snakes from people's backyards. So when they received a call about a big python in someone's yard, it seemed like it was going to be another typical day for them. What they weren't expecting to find, though, was a huge boa instead. They described it as the biggest boa constrictor either of them had ever seen. It was strange because boas aren't an established invasive species in South Florida. How it got there was, and still is, a total mystery. What you're looking at here is the largest living snake in captivity today, Medusa, a reticulated python measuring 25 feet and 2 inches long, weighing in at 350 pounds. Yes, it's not a boa. I threw on a couple big snakes that aren't boas. If that's something that's gonna ruin your whole day, then I'm sorry. Medusa is owned by Full Moon Productions in Kansas City, not to be confused with the straight-to-video horror movie production company Full Moon Features. This is Full Moon Productions. They run haunted houses. I don't think that was information any of you were asking for and probably didn't need clarifying, but here we are. Anyway, big snake, reticulated pythons are native to Southeast Asia, and they're some of the longest snakes in the entire world. Medusa gets fed a healthy diet of rabbits, hogs, and deer on a bi-weekly basis. Staff at the Edge of Hell haunted house where she's currently housed say that she purrs like a cat when she's happy and hisses when she's angry. Ever seen a video that just makes your whole body involuntarily shudder? Just like, this is one of those videos. This is horrific. Check it out. This video was taken in India on a farmer's property. The dude came across this gargantuan monster eating one of his cows whole. Yeah, that bulge in the middle of the snake, that is an entire cow. Anyway, the farmer ended up lassoing the snake to get it off his property. I'm kind of mad I had to do this video today because I know I'm just gonna wake up at 3 a.m. with one of those gross snake nightmares, and then I'm gonna feel like there's one crawling around in my bed, and I'm gonna be all icked out for the rest of the night, and then I'll be a zombie all of tomorrow. Anyway, I'm just glad I could pass that gift on to all of you. I hope you're all glad that you clicked today. And now we truck over to Indonesia to watch a terrifying encounter with a gigantic python captured on camera. This happened on November 22nd of 2018. Now, if you're wondering why these dudes are wrestling with the serpents, they're not doing it to show how macho they are. They're not doing it for internet clout. This snake had wrapped itself around an innocent villager and they were trying to wrestle the beast off of them. Fortunately, in the end, they were able to, but not without a serious fight. So they'd been walking by and spotted what they thought was just a log until it started moving. The snake got defensive, leading to an altercation. One guy ended up getting caught in the python's death grip, but with the help of 5 other dudes, they were able to get him free. The Cuban boa. This snake is a real giant and one of the most impressive snakes you'll find in the Caribbean. It's native to Cuba, hence the name, and it's not just big, it's also very intimidating. These things can climb. They're semi-arboreal. Imagine that thing grabbing you from up in a tree. The Cuban boa can grow up to 13 feet long on average, but they've been known to reach up to 18 feet as well. Like all boas, they're non-venomous and instead have a thick, muscular body that helps them constrict their prey. These boas are mostly found in Cuba's forests and swamps, and they're pretty good at blending into their surroundings. Their coloration can vary from dark brown to olive green, which helps them camouflage in the leaves and branches. This makes them very effective hunters. They usually prey on birds, small mammals, and other animals that they can overpower with their constriction. Luckily, though, they generally avoid humans and would rather hide from us than confront us. But if you're exploring the Cuban wilderness, good idea to be aware these guys are around and just give them plenty of space. They're gonna need it. Finally, though, we have the king cobra. You want scary snakes? This is a scary snake. Not only are king cobras incredibly venomous, but they can get massive too. These are the longest venomous snakes in the entire world, with the largest ones reaching lengths of up to 18.5 feet. The biggest king cobra on record, though, 19.2 feet. So you're getting the best of both worlds here, or is it the worst? You take your pick. You get the size of a boa mixed with a deadly venomous bite. So that's just great. What's even crazier about these guys is they don't even go after the type of prey you typically imagine with other snakes, rodents. No, these things will often prey on other snakes, including members of their own species. That's about as cold-blooded as it gets. Animals that eat each other, just always disturbing. I don't know why nature spawns animals like this, but they do. This This big chonker was spotted in Brazil. Obviously, this is an anaconda, some of the largest snakes in the world. Not only are they long, but they're incredibly thick, very prehistoric looking animals. I mean, if I saw this, I would think the thing slithered right out of the Jurassic period. Just imagine having that thing wrap around you and slowly squeeze you to death. I say slowly, it would probably take like 30 seconds for that thing to squeeze the life out of me. Would you stand there filming it, or would you get the hell away from it? What you're looking at here is an African rock python. I know you don't really need me to tell you this, but it's a very big one. It was spotted by a man named Jason Moolman on a farm in Ballito, South Africa. Just look at how fast this thing moves, despite how large it is. These snakes can grow to be absolutely massive, easily reaching lengths of up to about 13 feet or about 4 meters, making them one of the longest snakes in Africa. It can take down prey much larger than itself, including antelope, warthogs, and even the occasional crocodile. What makes them even more impressive is how they use their surroundings. African rock pythons are incredibly versatile. They'll take shelter in caves, burrows, or even in abandoned termite mounds, making them hard to spot unless you know exactly where to look. And don't think they're limited to the ground either. These snakes are excellent climbers and can often be found lounging in trees, waiting for their next meal to wander by. This is a 34-foot, 990-pound anaconda that was discovered at a construction site in Brazil. Again, a giant-sized anaconda. I don't know if it's actually 34 feet. That's getting sorta close to the real-life length of a Titanoboa, which reached up to 50 feet long, but who the hell knows what's lurking in the Amazon. The more illegal logging they're doing out there, the more stuff they're gonna find. Now, unfortunately, I don't think they let this snake go. There's another video of what I believe is the exact same snake strapped down to some equipment, with the cameraman panning across its body just to show how truly massive it is. It's impressive for sure, but it's sad the thing was killed like this. Next up, we have the battle of the century, cobra versus python. Which snake used to name countless 80s movie villain gangs will come out on top? Take a look. Well, the python appears to be winning at first. It's got its body coiled around the cobra's head, but then you notice the cobra has part of the python's body in its mouth. So if the python can choke out the cobra before getting sucked into the massive python's mouth, maybe it'll win. Unfortunately, the video ends before we get to find out who wins, and maybe that's because neither won. Maybe both snakes turned their attention to the person filming, just like the tagline for Alien vs. Predator said, no matter who wins, we lose. If you're thinking this video is fake, or at the very least a rare instance, well, you'd be surprised. Fights between cobras and pythons have been known to happen before. In this brutal fight that happened in Thailand a couple years ago, a python had itself wrapped around a king cobra who managed to break free of its grasp before devouring the thing whole. So it happens. In the heart of the Amazon rainforest, there's a creature that's been the stuff of legends for generations. The Yaku Mama. The name comes from the Quechua language, where Yaku means water and Mama, of course, means mother. So it translates to mother of the waters. This giant serpent is said to live in the deep rivers, lakes, and swamps of the Amazon, and it's a creature that's been talked about by indigenous cultures in countries like Peru, Brazil, Colombia, and Ecuador. The Yaku Mama is often described as a massive serpent, sometimes said to be up to 160 feet long, and it's believed to be powerful enough to swallow entire boats or even small islands. People say it has the ability to consume anything within a 350-foot radius. The stories tell of its strength and size, but there's more. Some say it can shapeshift, control the weather, and even heal or harm those who encounter it. While different tribes have their own names for the creature, the tales all describe a giant river-dwelling snake. In modern times, some explorers have claimed to spot it, with one father-son team, Mike and Greg Warner, even saying they captured it on camera during an aerial survey of the rainforest. But most scientists think these stories may have been inspired by the fossilized remains of prehistoric serpents like the Titanoboa. Again though, the Amazon is massive. I would not be surprised if there was a giant serpent lurking somewhere deep in the forest. So just what the hell is going on here? I've said this many times on the channel, I do not speak Spanish. Can anyone tell me what these guys are yelling in this video? I'm guessing it's something like, holy crap, look at the size of that thing. That's a chonker of a snake. Oh no, my van, that sort of thing. That thing is so big, I wouldn't have been surprised if it crushed that vehicle like a plastic water bottle. How horrifying. It's like you're actually witnessing a scene from Jurassic Park play out right in front of your eyes. Sounds cool, but in real life, I mean, you can hear how panicked these folks are in the video, except for the one dude just casually walking by in the background. He had places to be, I guess. Here's where you never want to be though, in an anaconda's turf, the water. Sure, these things can slither around on land too, but I'm sure they're faster in the water. Well, this dude gets up close and personal with one, and at first it doesn't look all that frightening, but then you get a real sense of this thing's size. Take a look. First of all, we mostly see its head throughout the video, right? But when it starts swimming away, just look how thick the thing's body is, and of course, how long. Imagine being trapped in the water with that thing tangled around you. Like, good luck. Man, like, drowning is such a scary enough thing as is. I've nearly drowned like twice in my life, and I don't think the lifeguard at the community center pool would have been able to rescue me if I had a 15-foot anaconda wrestling with me underwater. There's a snake on my roof. Take a look at this. Well, that would be a pleasant sight to see walking out your house for work in the morning. I think opening up my door to a wall of snow is bad, but I feel like this would be worse, just slightly more inconvenient. Would your boss believe you if you lived in this part of the world? Like, sorry, I'm not gonna make it in today. There's a basilisk just chilling on my roof. Honestly, I might die. I don't even know how this roof is holding that thing up. Anyway, scary video. Alright, this person is just way too close to this thing. This is a massive sized reticulated python spotted slithering around someone's pad. It looks like it might have wanted to check out this person's bike. And yeah, I get it, like you don't want it to ruin your ride, but there is no way I'd ever get this close to something like this, even though it makes for a great video and by extension, just one more thing for me to add to a list like this. One commenter asked if this snake could eat a human, to which I need to ask, did you actually watch the video or did you just read the description? Yes, that thing could definitely eat a person. Also, kind of looks like it's shedding, so it might be trying to find a hard surface to rub against to get its old layer of skin off, which you'd probably be able to build a crispy hammock out of, as gross as that would be. Alright, it's really not surprising that there are legends of giant river monsters like the Yakumama I discussed earlier when you see footage like this. Yeah, looks like a living dinosaur to me. Supposedly this footage was taken somewhere in the Amazon, where we can clearly see a very large anaconda crossing a river. And I am just really glad I live where I do sometimes. Sure, it gets cold, but at least that means that giant snakes like this aren't gonna show up at your door or on your roof, or at the lake where you're swimming, or in your garage where your motorcycle is parked, or at the construction site you're working at. There's virtually no threat of being choked to death by a giant snake, and I'm all for that.
There have been some giant snake sightings out there in the world that will make you want to stay inside for the rest of your life. You see, in 2016, a terrifying snake that was 33 feet long and weighed over 800 pounds was found lurking in caves near a dam construction site in Brazil. Like, just imagine heading into work and seeing that. I fear I would pass out due to the fear. Now, this snake was discovered by the workers after they carried out a controlled explosion in the cave of Almeria in the northern state of Para. Now, video footage taken by one of the crew pans down the snake's enormous body, which measures 3 feet in diameter. Now, after finding this creature, the workers chained the animal to the crane and later lifted it up. It's claimed that the builders hurt the snake rather than leave it in its natural habitat, but that has not been confirmed. Regardless, it seems like the workers didn't know the snake was there when they started to work, and when they did find it, they chained it up to protect themselves from the giant beast, which I can't blame them for, because it appears that snake could do some serious damage. Then in 2017, a giant snake was spotted by a security guard in Indonesia. Security guard Robert Nabadan encountered the snake on a palm oil plantation road. Now, unlike other people who would just walk away from the snake, like I would, he tried to catch the snake. Now, it had attacked him and they fought until Robert ended its life. Yes, surprisingly, he won the battle against the 26-foot long snake. Now, honestly, that is impressive. He did walk away with some serious injuries though, but he kept his community safe. Afterwards, the snake was then strung up for display at a village before it was chopped up, fried, and eaten. Robert told an Indonesian news outlet, "I tried to catch it, my hand was bitten, and I managed to wrestle it." Local police said that this snake had sunk its fangs into the guard's left arm and nearly severed it. Now, Robert did not give an exact reason for why he tried to catch the snake, but it was said that there were villagers who could not cross the road because of the snake. Varying reports say he was either trying to keep scared villagers safe or that he wanted to clear the road. An official then spoke out saying that these giant snakes were common in this area. There are at least 10 sightings of them a year. In the dry season, they come out looking for a drink. In the wet, they come out to take a bath in the rain. There are usually lots of mice in the palm oil plantations, and that's what they are hunting. Yeah, now I would just leave one of these snakes alone if I came face to face with it, not fight it. A giant snake skin found on a riverbank in the northeast United States has become a local legend in the town of Westbrook, Maine, known as Wessie. Now, sightings of the snake began in June 2016 when a woman filed a report with the Westbrook Police Department claiming to have seen a snake as large as a truck with a head the size of a basketball. Soon thereafter, a late shift police officer patrolling near the first sighting saw a large snake eating a mammal, possibly a beaver. And then on August 20th, a man walking along the river stumbled across the molted skin of a 12-foot long snake near the two other sightings. It said that the skin belongs to a female snake that's at least 10 to 12 years old based on the skin size. Now, the snake's genetic quirks also suggest that its ancestors were most likely from Peru or Bolivia, though the snake probably was bred in the United States. Jesus Rivas, a snake expert, said it would have to come from someone who either caught it or bought it somewhere, brought it here, and then decided to let it go for some reason. But given the snake's size and age, he suspects that its owners were dedicated, and he maintains instead that the snake got out of its enclosure. People who have a snake of this size are responsible keepers, and it's very unlikely that they don't have the awareness that the snake won't survive in the wild, he said. I doubt that it was released, more likely it escaped. Now, I would not want to run into that creature at the park. Now, there have been some real big snake sightings over the years. I mean, in 1959, Colonel Remy van Leerd of the Belgian Royal Air Force was on helicopter patrol when he spotted something interesting. He had flown in over 400 missions, and his eyes were trained to study the ground below, so he was really good at this kind of thing. But while he and his co-pilot were out that day, they saw a humongous snake, which Remy estimated to be over 50 feet in length. Now, according to experts, there's no scientific evidence that a 50-foot snake exists, but this wild story has people thinking it could have been the so-called extinct Titanoboa. Now, to help verify their story, Remy and his co-pilot took a single grainy photograph of the creature in question. Now, clearly, the image seems to depict what is undeniably a giant snake, looking massive in comparison to the nearby trees. Ivan Sanderson, a biologist and cryptozoology enthusiast, analyzed the document and came to the conclusion that the snake was not merely 50 feet long, but 200. Now, in his eyes, the dark shapes were certainly termite mounds, which could grow up to 26 feet tall and over 50 feet wide in that region. Regardless, it seems to be a giant snake that has no business being that big and terrifying. Now, some people think that the skeleton of a Titanoboa had been spotted on Google Earth. In a TikTok video that had 7.4 million views, it showed an image of this beast. This video was posted in March of 2022 by user at Google Maps Fun and is now under the heading Creepiest Things Google Maps Recorded. Hidden on Google Earth, users believe this to be a giant snake. It's about 30 meters long and bigger than any snake caught before, the voiceover says. As it shows, shows a satellite image of the bones on a beach. Now, users quickly speculated that the skeleton could have belonged to a prehistoric snake called the Titanoboa, and I mean, the skeleton was just under 100 feet long, and the largest Titanoboa ever recorded was 47 feet. Regardless, this creature was huge, and hey, maybe this was the same snake that Remy and his co-pilot saw. Now, in 2009, a 100-foot snake was spotted lurking in a river in Borneo, sparking great concern among local communities. Yeah, no kidding. Now, the photograph used to corroborate this story shows a wiggly snake-like object as it rips through the river. An unnamed member of an unnamed disaster team monitoring flood regions on the Southeast Asian island allegedly captured the image while hovering over the river in a helicopter, and then they leaked it to the public. Now, it's not clear whether the photograph is genuine or just edited, but some suggest that the snake was in fact a log or a speedboat, while others complained the color of the river in the photo was too dark. However, on the banks of the river, villagers are convinced of the massive serpent's existence and have even given it a name, Nabu, after an ancient sea serpent which can transform itself into the shapes of different animals. Now, a second picture has also emerged, showing the beast from a different angle. This time though, the anonymous photographer appears to have set up his tripod on the riverbank and captures the terrifying serpent stretched across the width of the river. Now that is honestly just terrifying. And finally, in 2022, unsettling footage of a giant snake slithering over a wall into what appears to be a porch entrance of a house went viral on Twitter. The snake making its way towards the window door of an unknown property was shared to Twitter alongside the caption, "Living near the jungle allows you to have the visit of sweet little animals." Yeah, sure, sweet and little. Ugh, I can't imagine sitting in the kitchen and just seeing that beast enter your home. Now, the origins of this video are so far unclear, but one Twitter user claimed that the motorcycle license plate indicated the location as being Central Java, Indonesia, but that is so far unconfirmed. Now, Indonesia is known for having these big snakes though, so it would make sense. Commenters though couldn't agree on what kind of snake it was, but they could all agree that it was terrifying, which I concur.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the military mission. This story is one that is said to have come from a Peruvian ex-commando named Juan Carlos. He is said to have quite the resume that includes being able to survive for 11 days in the jungle with only his smarts and a small knife, and while that is certainly impressive, of course we are all here today to talk about his giant snake sighting. Juan Carlos explained that at one point in time when he was on a mission deep in the Amazon with his army unit, they encountered and subsequently shot a 40-foot long snake. He went on to explain that the leaders of the unit took the remains of the snake, which he now assumed are hanging on some officer's wall somewhere, which never allowed him to have the catch verified, but this story has only fueled his fire to once again encounter a snake of that size. Juan Carlos is absolutely certain that should he go out on an expedition, that he could find another giant snake that is over 30 feet, because he says he knows where the right places to look are. In our number 9 spot today, we have the TikTok sighting. According to the TikTok account Google Maps Fun, which is an account that shares fun or interesting things they found while searching the world through Google Maps, they seem to have found some sort of giant snake off of the coast of France. The TikTok, which was posted earlier this year, shows the images from Google Maps that seems to show a gigantic snake skeleton that the user states is, quote, about 30 meters long and bigger than any snake caught before. This of course has fueled many theories that this snake could in fact be a Titanoboa. The TikTok was circulated around the app and gained millions of views, and I can totally see why. It definitely would be a strange thing to suddenly come across while scouring satellite images. While everyone has been searching the Amazon, maybe the Titanoboa has just been in France all along. In our number 8 spot today, we have the fisherman. This is a legend that comes from long ago, and it starts off somewhere in a rainforest in Peru. Hundreds of years ago, there was a fisherman who was from a tribe that lived near what is now the modern-day city of Pucallpa. He journeyed by canoe deep into the jungle and went off the main river path by following a little inlet that led to a hidden lake. He usually took this path as he knew the hidden lake was a great spot to catch food. As he got to his spot, things were very quiet, and he knew that that meant he was going to catch enough food for everyone. As he looked for the best place to cast his net, however, something began to stir in the water. As the fisherman looked up, he saw a great head emerge from the water right in the the center of the lake. He suddenly realized that it was the head of a serpent, but not just any serpent, as the head alone was the size of the entire fisherman's body. The snake stared at him as he panicked and threw himself to shore. As he ran away as fast as possible, he turned and looked over his shoulder, only to see the snake moving toward him through the water. The fisherman was lucky enough to escape the giant serpent that day, and he returned back to the village with the story, which has lived on throughout the hundreds of years it's been since. This is why it is said that giant snakes might just be seen in any river or inlet of the Peruvian Amazon. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Borneo sighting. This giant snake sighting is said to have come from a few years ago, as there was a disaster team that was monitoring floods above the island of Borneo. The team is said to have been flying overhead in a helicopter when the sighting happened, and one member thought what they were seeing was so surprising they even snapped a picture. It is said that this gigantic snake could have been around 100 feet in length, which is absolutely insane, and the story and the photo went on to spark some concern among those who live in the area. It is said that this sighting only confirmed what locals in the area have long been worried about, which is the existence of an ancient sea serpent. Some even believe that this serpent has the ability to transform itself into different forms of animals. For me, that one might be a stretch, but who am I to say for sure? In our number 6 spot today, we have the Ranger. This is a story that is said to have come from a ranger who works near the Amazon River basin. On a day where he was patrolling around the area, he saw what he estimated to be a 45-foot long anaconda. The ranger took the people that he was telling the story to where he said he saw this gigantic snake, and they all began to try and spot it again. While they were on this search, they had a young boy with them who was from the area. As they got a little downstream from where they were initially looking, the boy showed them another spot that he explained that he and his uncle were when they saw a giant snake that came crashing through the weeds. The pair was of course extremely startled by this sighting and got out of there as soon as they possibly could. Since then, they've been on the lookout for the giant snake, but have yet to have another sighting. In our number 5 spot today, we have the Huntsman. This story starts off many years ago and it takes place in Peru. It is said that here a local huntsman went into the jungle in search of some game to feed his family. As he was on the hunt for food, the weather began to change and suddenly the sky began to get darker. He started a fire, but upon doing so, it is said that he felt the earth begin to shake, sort of like a small earthquake. This led to him putting out the fire. The following day, he was cutting through thick areas of the forest when he struck a large ancient tree trunk that he said was about 60 meters tall and blocking his path. At the base of this trunk, however, he then noticed a deer just standing there, which is obviously odd. As the hunter began to walk towards the deer, it suddenly disappeared into the base of the trunk. This is when the hunter suddenly understood that this is no tree. The trunk is the body of a giant serpent, and at the base there is a gigantic gaping mouth that is attached to a head that has red glowing eyes and horn-like ears. The hunter slowly backed away, realizing that the earth rumbling he felt the night before was likely the serpent being startled at the lighting of the fire. He evaded death because although he mistakenly struck the giant snake, it thankfully hadn't noticed, and without the deer there, he possibly wouldn't have even realized what was really going on. The huntsman was able to make it out of there and was sure to pass the story on when he returned home. This is the story or the legend of the Sashamama, which has been around for centuries. Many believe that the tales of this creature were in fact inspired by the very real existence of the Titanoboa. In our number 4 spot today, we have Percy's sighting. Percy Fawcett is a famous explorer who is best known for his search for the lost city of Z, but he is also known for his alleged Titanoboa sighting. In 1906, it is said that he was traveling through the Amazon River when he came across a gigantic snake. He didn't even only claim to see it though, he also claimed that he shot it. He said the snake was 65 feet long and that it was at least 1 foot in diameter. After his alleged shot, it is said that the snake sunk back down into the water and out of sight of the explorer. No one is quite sure of what happened to this gigantic snake after its encounter with Percy, but he is said to have had no doubts over what exactly he saw in the river that day. In our number 3 spot today, we have tunnels. There were a couple of adventurers or explorers or whatever you want to call them who went to Peru in search of the Titanoboa. As part of their research, they of course spent time speaking with those local to the area so as to hear their stories of the giant snake in the hopes of maybe getting some insider info on where they could find it. They explained that one night when they camped at a village on the Samaria River, they spent an entire evening listening to these types of stories and they were absolutely astounded. One person explained seeing a 60-foot long snake that was half in the water and half out. After hearing this story, it is said that an elder from the village explained that the giant snakes use underground tunnels in order to move between lakes, which is probably the most terrifying thing I've ever heard, but this could explain why, should the Titanoboa still exist, it is rarely ever seen. In our number 2 spot today we have the duo. In 2009, a man named Mark Warner and his son Greg traveled from Northern Ireland to the Amazon basin in search of this gigantic snake that legends are made of. They were determined to capture evidence of its existence, and they assembled a team and set out on a mission to prove it. They surveyed their selected areas through aerial views and set off on their adventure. After 12 days in the jungle, surviving through intense weather and taking hundreds of photos and videos, it is said that they did end up capturing a photo of what they claimed to be a huge snake, bigger than any other, measuring around 40 meters or 131 feet long and 2 meters or 6 feet wide. That is an unbelievable size. Many people of course have been a bit suspicious about these claims, but the pair are determined to head back out on another expedition to capture the creature again. It seems as though we might just have to wait again to see if the pair really can pull it off. In our number 1 spot today we have the Maine monster. This is a snake sighting that comes from Maine, and it has been confusing people ever since. Originally posted on the Facebook page of the Westbrook Police Department, they wrote, quote, "We have received a legitimate report concerning a very large snake present at the Riverbank Park. The report was the snake is as long as a truck and the head the size of a soccer ball. The snake was reportedly observed on the riverbank to the rear of the playground on both the Main Street and Brown Street side of the river." Okay. Definitely not what anyone in the neighborhood wants to hear, especially not from the police page itself, but things only went on to get more concerning. A few days later, an update was posted to the page that included a photo. This photo showed a huge shed snakeskin that looked as though it was shed quite recently. Any snake that thing belongs to has got to be too large for comfort. This went on to create quite a local legend, and rumors about what this humongous creature could be began to spread. While this may not be the largest snake on this list, the proof of its existence certainly is chilling. It is said that people even tested the skin to see what kind of snake it belonged to, and rumor has it that there was in fact some Titanoboa DNA found.
In 2005, a sinkhole opened up in the Brazilian rainforest, which already is pretty terrifying, but it revealed an underground cave system, and that's when things got eerie. Workers investigating that area reported hearing strange noises and claimed to have seen a massive serpentine figure briefly emerge from the shadows before disappearing forever. Descriptions of its dark as night scales and glowing amber eyes of course fueled local legends of this ancient serpent guarding the cave. Though no physical evidence was found, locals believe the sinkhole did disturb a hidden predator, possibly an undiscovered relic of ancient times. It's like the basilisk from Harry Potter. That's a snake I would not mess with. In 2021, a team of scientists conducting biodiversity surveys along the Rio Apaporis in the Columbia made an astonishing discovery using advanced thermal imaging technology. They detected an enormous heat signature in the water that was roughly 40 feet long that moved with a very distinct solitary grace. Now initially they thought the signature was caused by a school of fish, but upon closer inspection, the shape's movement indicated it was a singular large creature, and instead not a group. The team spent several days trying to locate the source of the heat but found no physical evidence, leaving them baffled, just like you and I are right now. The encounter reignited speculation about Titanoboa, the ancient 42-foot snake that once roamed the area millions of years ago. Could it have survived, hidden in the uncharted depths of the Amazon? The sighting, though inconclusive, does add another layer to this ongoing debate over the survival of prehistoric creatures in the modern world, like the megalodon. In 1959, a missing explorer's belongings were found, including a blurry photograph of a massive serpent coiled up around a tree. Now, the journal that they found with it ended with the chilling note, "It watches." Who's it? Why is it watching? What is it watching me do? I have all the questions. While dismissed as a hoax by some, the photograph's resemblance to Titanoboa fossils have cryptozoologists wondering if the serpent still survives in the jungles of South America. Manaus, often referred to as the gateway to the Amazon, is home to many strange and terrifying stories. I mean, it's the Amazon. Everything's in there. One of the most chilling occurred in 1985 when a group of ecotourists ventured into a remote lagoon on the outskirts of the city. Now, as they paddled deeper into the still waters, they noticed a large, snake-like figure slicing through the water right ahead of them. kind of hard to miss. It was unlike anything they had ever seen before, and its size dwarfed their small canoe. A snake bigger than a canoe? Nope. The guide, a seasoned local, mind you, he immediately urged the group to turn back, warning them that they were nearing an area that was home to an ancient guardian of the forest. If that was me, I would be full steam ahead, pal, winding up my camera. Though they managed to return to safety, the tourists couldn't shake this eerie feeling that they had come too close to something beyond their comprehension. Now, some believe that that serpent that they encountered could have been a living Titanoboa, while others speculate that the Amazon is simply protecting its most sacred and dangerous secrets. Well, why not both? The Colombian oil rig incident. In 1992, workers on an oil rig deep in the jungles of Colombia encountered an eerie disturbance that they could never explain. And when you're out there that often, that says a lot. It began with tremors shaking the foundations of the rig, followed by strange ripples in the nearby swamp that suggested the presence of something enormous lurking beneath the surface. That is danger close. So one night, a few workers spotted this massive snake-like creature break the surface of the swamp. They saw it, they locked eyes. Its smooth scales reflecting the rig's floodlights, again, hard to miss. Witnesses describe its eyes as glowing a menacing red, and its body so large that it seemed to dwarf the surrounding vegetation. We got canoes, now we got vegetation. How big is this thing? Although the company dismissed the incident as a case of mass hysteria, the workers were quite adamant about what they saw. To them, the creature wasn't just this local myth, it was an ancient predator, possibly, hopefully, a surviving Titanoboa, making a rare and terrifying appearance. Imagine being heckled at work by Titanoboa. Get out of here. You're so scary. The legend of Titanoboa has traveled far beyond South America, and in 1997, a group of loggers working in the remote jungles of Sumatra, Indonesia, experienced something that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. While taking down a giant tree, they heard a loud, guttural hiss coming from a nearby swamp. Now, as they cautiously investigated, they were confronted with this massive, serpent-like creature coiled around a tree trunk. Its body so thick, it seemed to defy belief. It's like a tree wrapped around a tree. That's terrifying. Eyewitnesses described the creature's scales as glistening, like wet onyx almost, with a girth wider than a grown man's torso. The workers, of course terrified, they fled the area. They abandoned all their equipment, they were out of there. The locals later suggested that that creature was a naga, a mythical serpent from Indonesian folklore, but the description seemed eerily close to that of Titanoboa. Could it be possible that the ancient snake had crossed oceans to find a new home, or was this something entirely new and undiscovered? Both sound really bad. Drones are pretty hot. They seem to be watching us and our every moves every day. No idea what's going on up there. But in 2017, filmmaker Rodrigo Silva set out to capture this untouched beauty of the Peruvian Amazon with his drone, unaware that he would recover something extraordinary. As he reviewed his drone footage, Silva noticed an enormous snake-like creature slithering through the dense jungle. The creature was estimated to be around 50 feet long, moving with a fluidity almost as it coiled and uncoiled with precision. Ergo, a big snake. Unlike an anaconda, which stays close to the water, this creature seemed to be moving effortlessly through the forest, which would now raise eyebrows among experts. So while some believed it could be an unusually large anaconda, others point out anomalies in its size, speed, and of course, behavior. The video went viral. Obviously, it sparked a heated debate among cryptozoologists, with many wondering if this could be a living Titanoboa or if it was simply a case of mistaken identity fueled by the power of social media. What do you think it was? Comment down below. Lost Jungle Expedition. In 1934, British explorer Percy Haddon led a small team into the heart of Brazil to map an uncharted section of the Xingu River. Now, during their journey, Haddon made a startling discovery: this colossal serpentine track imprinted on the riverbanks. Hard to miss. The tracks measured over 3 feet wide, indicating the movement of a creature far larger than any known anaconda. That night, as the team camped by the river, they were awakened by this unnerving silence, followed by the faint sound of water lapping against something enormous. As the glow of their campfire illuminated the water, the team saw this shadowy, large shape pass by. So in a panic, they scrambled to get out of there, but by morning the creature was gone, leaving behind only questions and a lingering sense of dread. Was this Titanoboa stopping by to say hello? Was it grabbing a sip of water before boogieing on to the next island? Who knows? In 2009, paleontologists unearthed fossilized remains of Titanoboa, this 42-foot serpent that once roamed Colombia's swamps. But miners working in the area reported hearing strange low-frequency rumblings and hissing noises coming from deep within the mine, suggesting something massive was moving below them. Though dismissed as the effects of working in dangerous conditions, not a lot of oxygen, your brain will sometimes make things up, some have now speculated that Titanoboa could still be alive in the mine's depths. What do you think? Overworked, or is that a giant snake that's about to eat us all? Deep in the Amazon, the legend of the Yakamama, or Mother of the Water, has haunted local folklore. Mother of the Water? I mean, yeah, it's gonna scare me. This giant serpent, said to grow over 100 feet long, was reported by a group of fishermen back in 2010. They saw a massive shadow gliding beneath their boat, its glossy black scales reflecting faint sunlight. Really hard to miss when it's that big and that bright. Though they fled unharmed, they returned with a chilling story of this ancient predator lurking in the waters. Now, whether or not it was Titanoboa or another ancient creature, the encounter left them with one unsettling truth: the Amazon holds secrets far beyond comprehension.
Let's roll back to 2002 when the first fossilized findings of the Titanoboa came to existence, giving scientists a whole new insight of giant snakes once ruling the earth after the dinosaurs. This fossil was found in Colombia's Cerrejón, and to give you a little bit of a backstory of the location, it used to be a tropical swampy forest with temperatures to around 30 to 32 degrees, 5 degrees higher than our rainforest today. Cerrejón is the best, and probably the only window on a complete ancient tropical ecosystem anywhere in the world, states paleontologist Carlos Jaramillo. But today, it is now desolate and dry, but the tomb of amazing fossil deposits for scientists to dig around in, with its large pits, ranging about 15 miles in circumference. The person to have allegedly discovered the fossil was an intern at the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute named Jorge Moreno Bernal. He then brought along both Jonathan Bloch and Jason Heed, two other paleontologists from Nebraska and Florida, who then finally gave it the name Titanoboa cerrejonensis, and took up the length of over 40 feet. The lord of this jungle, they claimed, apparently had a waist so thick that it reached up to a man's waist. Literally slim thick Titanoboa over here. You just never find a snake skull, and we have one, states Bloch. When I find something good, it's a biological reaction. It starts in my stomach. I do as well when researching the Titanoboa. It's called nausea. What about our ancestors from way back when? Like 700 to 1000 AD ancestors. They apparently had the wonderful opportunity to live alongside the supposed Titanoboa. You have no idea how thankful I am to live in a time where I can view giant snakes behind a bulletproof glass. This source comes from the Independent of this year, where there had been cave drawings that were discovered down in South America, also within Colombia, that ranged from, drumroll please, 16 to 43 meters, which is 141 feet for 43 meters. At least that's what Google is telling me. You know those dune sand snakes? That's what I'm imagining right now, and I'm hoping it was one of my ancestors riding on the backs of one of those, like Timothy Chalamet. Dr. Philip Brevis of Bournemouth University says, our field research in Colombia and Venezuela is, for the very first time, revealing a previously largely unknown and unrecorded ancient culture in this remote part of South America. We hope that this will allow the modern world to appreciate the long-lost artistic and other achievements of the people who lived there many centuries before European colonization. There was a total of 7 snakes that covered these walls, created by ancient Native American people in Colombia. An interesting fact as well, a lot of these snake paintings were drawn on high out of reach places due to religious reasons, and the belief that showcasing these high up would act as some sort of oracle for them, using shamans or other mediators to speak for them. If I was a mediator for this, I would probably abuse the system somehow, saying things like, the snake says it needs new leather shoes. Yes, I know snakes don't have feet, but that's apparently what it wants. Breaking news, Titanoboa isn't extinct, but rather being held captive in an insanely rich man's creepy, rusted basement. Yeah, I'm quite baffled as you. I literally can't make this up. Apparently, a rich guy named Kelsey Warren accidentally uploaded a tweet to his X account of a selfie he took, but in the background, people on the internet noticed a giant snake that was behind him. I cannot find the supposed tweet, so I can't give my 2 cents about it. I don't even know if the thing is real, but it's funny to imagine hoarding a giant snake in your basement for whatever reason. The story goes that after this mysterious tweet went viral, people managed to get the CBI, Central Bureau of Investigation, to raid his home, and apparently they found nothing out of the ordinary at first. To quote the next part from the article, Sack the Reality, it wasn't until they discovered a hidden door with a rusted sign that it took a jaw-dropping turn. Behind that door, you guessed it, a 20-meter long Titanoboa, chained in a massive cage. How did he get that giant snake in the first place, and who did he pay to deliver a supposed extinct snake into his basement and didn't think, hey, this is kind of really weird, dude? Then you probably have Kelsey slipping him another 50 grand to keep his mouth shut. There was also apparently video footage of it that one of the police officers took, but then it was deleted for whatever reason. We are once again being teased with the truth, dangling like a piece of cheese on a string in front of us. Now some real tasteful videos of actual Titanoboa snakes, or so these people claim. I'm still trying to be proven about these so-called Titanoboas. This video, obviously scuffed beyond all recognition, shows what appears to be a fairly large snake going across some water or pond. I really can't tell. It's creepy. The uploader of this video is kind of unknown because I see it everywhere, but allegedly this was in the Amazon River. And this guy is long. If I had to estimate its length, I'd say maybe around 20 to 25 feet. Nowhere near a comparison to our Titanoboa friend though. Do you guys remember that one pilot that claimed to see the Congo snake, Titanoboa, or what have you? Doesn't it kind of look like this snake in the video? And secondly, what is it with people getting uncomfortably close with snakes? This guy looks like he's at least 15 feet in distance within that thing. You do know how fast they can strike, right? I also forgot that some of you are new here and have no idea what I mean when I'm referring to the Congo snake. So let me give you a rundown of this beast. The snake was first discovered, allegedly, by Arthur C. Clarke, a Belgian helicopter pilot who was making his way home after a mission he was doing back in 1959. Clarke states that while he was going over the Congo, he saw his supposed snake and made a couple passes at it while trying to snag the perfect photo. He claims that because he's a pilot, he's able to measure certain things from a distance, giving rough estimates as to how big they would actually be if he was on the ground with them. I would say the snake I saw there was close to 50 feet, Clarke claims. The color was a deep green and brown with a really wide belly. The snake then began to rise upright, rising to about 10 feet in height, with its jaws looking large and triangular. Quote, "It could have easily eaten up a man," end quote. There's also the possibility of wanting to make a quick buck out of something outrageous back then, since life was extremely difficult post World War II. But who knows? I try to keep an open mind, which is probably stupid when it comes to the internet, but it keeps me entertained nonetheless. Let's get into some more giant water snake footage, because when I saw this one, I couldn't not talk about it. In this video, this guy is smart and stays far away from these things, but I think the distance also makes it all the more terrifying. If this is a snake, we can see in this video how terrifyingly long it is in the water, with both the front and the back parts of its body floating without a care in the world. Even towards the end of the video on the furthest right, we can see a section where it's roped off for the public to swim, or what have you. It's right next to it, and it looks like it could be as long as the ropes are too. Are you kidding me? That thing would certainly eat a child. Am I crazy, or is it also heading towards that direction as well? I want to know where this place is so I can add it to my list of vacation spots to never go. You're up at 10 a.m. on a Saturday, and you just so happen to be watching snakes on a plane. You think, I'm hungry, I want some shredded cheese. You go downstairs, and out of the corner of your eye, you see a giant snake going across from your roof and into the tree that's in your backyard. I'm sorry, but Mr. Snake, do you mind going back into the pits of hell where you slithered out from? Look how lengthy this thing is, and I hate how slow it goes. But honestly, a fast snake is probably much more terrifying. Also, viewers, take a shot for how many times I reference a snake being too long. Let's hope this is the last snake video that I do, because despite all the cool sciencey stuff about it, they are so creepy.